I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch network, and this is a breaking news alert. We had previously reported about Donald Trump's completely deranged and legally unsound $425 million defamation lawsuit against CNN, alleging that its use of the term big lie to refer to his spreading of election conspiracies, that defamed his character. And we talked on a prior video about how this opened up the doors to massive amounts of discovery of Donald Trump relating to his spreading of the big lie. And the very fact that he brought a case saying what he did was a big lie, defamed his character, just goes to show you the level of insanity and, quite frankly, the dangerous insanity of Donald Trump. But after bringing that lawsuit, Donald Trump was not done. He just issued a statement that says the following: in the coming weeks and months, we will also be filing lawsuits against a large number of other fake news media companies for their lies, defamation, and wrongdoing, including as it pertains to, quote, the big lie that they used so often in reference to their disinformation attack on presidential election of 2020. His sentences don't even make sense. Likewise, we may bring appropriate action against the Unselect Committee of January 6th because, notwithstanding overwhelming evidence, they refused to investigate the massive presidential election fraud which took place, but only investigate and harass the people and patriots who complained and asked questions about it. Again, it's a run-on sentence and an incoherent sentence. The rigging and stealing of our presidential election was perhaps the crime of the century, comma, and look what is happening to our country now, exclamation point. I'm sure the January 6th committee is like, please bring this lawsuit. There's nothing that would make the January 6th committee happier than for Trump to sue them in a frivolous lawsuit so that they could ultimately get his deposition. And quite frankly, any other media outlet out there, including ours, who have accurately reported on Donald Trump's spreading of the big lie, would be grateful, frankly, if Donald Trump brought a frivolous lawsuit alleging defamation. Because to get to the truth, the very first thing I would do if sued by Donald Trump is I would put him on the deposition stand right away. I would subpoena all of his records and the records of those close associates. In fact, if he's bringing the lawsuit, you don't even need to subpoena him. You just send a request for production of documents and you would get the records. And of course, Trump would try to, who knows, maybe he would plead the fifth and the lawsuit would then get immediately dismissed, or he would try to evade turning over the records. But at the end of the day, Donald Trump perpetuated the big lie. Let's leave no doubt about it. And from the very outset, Donald Trump filed lawsuit after lawsuit in federal courts, including federal judges who he appointed. And not only did he get laughed out of court, but many of the lawyers who even brought those cases have either been sanctioned or are in proceedings or could be in proceedings to lose their legal license, and some have lost their legal license. These lawyers had the opportunity to present affidavits and declarations and evidence and utterly failed to. And as you go into each of the states, whether it was going into Arizona, or whether it was going to Georgia, whether it was going to Michigan, or whatever the states there were, when you asked people, including like in Georgia, for example, the Republican Secretary of State, Brad Raffensperger, about the events, he said, no, this was one of the safest and most secure elections in history. Donald Trump has tried and continues to try at every turn to undermine our democratic institutions. And now he wants to abuse the process of filing lawsuits or threatening lawsuits against people and organizations to what? To try to create this false narrative that he's suing because he's righteous? No. Donald Trump is a freaking coward. Donald Trump is a fascist. Let's leave no uncertain terms here. Donald Trump is a fascist, frankly, a wannabe fascist, because he's too incompetent to actually even become the fascist that he wants to be. But Donald Trump's spreading of election disinformation is so dangerous. And the fact that he's now suing people for referring to his conduct of the big lie, it reeks of desperation. It reeks of somebody who is spiraling out of control. And I mean, CNN should be glowing that it was sued in this lawsuit, and any other media outlet that has accurately reported on Donald Trump's election lies would be honored to be a defendant in this case, frankly, and to have the ability to go on the offense and to get these records from Donald Trump and to put Donald Trump under oath. But you know what's going to happen. Donald Trump is a coward. And so if he's ever asked to be deposed, he's going to try to avoid it and avoid it and avoid it. I mean, recently, Donald Trump literally flew into Mar-a-Lago during Hurricane Ian because he wanted to avoid a deposition and demanded that his deposition take place during the hurricane. That's who Donald Trump is. When Donald Trump was deposed by Tish James, he pled the fifth over 400 times. That's who he is. He is a freaking coward. And that's what's likely going to happen in this lawsuit. In addition to asking him substantive questions about January 6th and the election, now that he's opened up the door to it, defendants in these cases, as I mentioned in the last video, can also ask him questions about his finances because he's arguing that he is financially damaged. Then we could ask him questions about his mental health if he's claiming emotional distress as a result of what he's claiming are defamatory statements. So all of that is now in play. Donald Trump is a desperate wannabe despot who is spiraling out of control with desperate lawsuits and ridiculous and absurd statements like the one I just read. I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch Network. Hey, hit the subscribe button right now. We're almost on our way to 1 million subs, thanks to your support. And in addition to growing to 1 million subs, if you want to support the growth of the MeidasTouch Network, here's what you can do. Go to patreon.com, patreon.com/MeidasTouch. That's patreon.com/MeidasTouch. We're not funded by any outside investors. So if you want to help grow our network, you can join one of the membership tiers that best suits and fits your interest. There's exclusive benefits there, but most importantly, you could help this independent network grow. Until next time, I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch Network.
MeidasTouch is unapologetically pro-democracy. And look, we know you are too. So please make sure you check out our best-selling shirt and our best-selling gear, the unapologetically pro-democracy gear. And hey, while you're at it, make sure you check out my favorite shirt and one of our most famous designs, It Wasn't Rigged, You're Just a Loser, at store.meidastouch.com. That's store.meidastouch.com.